I'm going to take you stepwise from the most simple, minimally invasive technique to the most invasive. One way or another, we're going to fix that stuck iPad button. Using 2 fingers, gently rock the button side to side to see if you can dislodge it from where it's been stuck. Second, use a dry toothbrush to brush away any debris that may have gotten lodged along the ring of the button. And third, if you think there's moisture in there, dip a Q-tip in alcohol and lightly swab the area around there in hopes that it either dissolves gunk or absorbs some of the water that's been in there. You can even try plopping it into a bath of rice to withdraw moisture. If these simple techniques don't work, then we'll have to get a little more invasive. Remember, if you find this helpful, click the like button. Let me know you'd like me to continue creating videos by hitting the subscribe button. And as always, I welcome comments. Using a heat gun, apply heat only around the perimeter, the very border, because that's where the thermal adhesive exists. And if you go too far in, you may damage the digitizer or the screen. Using a blunted wedge tool, separate the screen from the casing. Slowly and gently work your way around the entire iPad, bearing in mind that slower is better because you don't want to tear it off for risk of damaging the screen. If you need a little extra heat, don't be afraid to use it. Be most careful around the corners and the bottom right hand corner in particular. That's where there's a ribbon cable that attaches the LCD to the main computer. As tempting as it is, don't yank that clamshell open because of that restrictive ribbon. Position it into a comfortable spot where you're able to release it from the primary computer. With the iPad lying flat, locate your volume rocker buttons. You'll see a series of screws that go into a black plastic retaining harness near the volume button. I want you to variably tighten or loosen those screws and test the volume button. Make sure to test them all to see if you can get them all to work in various combinations of either tightening or loosening those screws. Inevitably, this is what unstuck my volume key, so I want you to try it first before we go into the deeper troubleshooting process. For those of you that are still with me, I'm going to explain how these buttons interface with the ribbon cable. What happens is these buttons are embossed on their underbelly, and when pressed, they will interact with a button that's on the flexible ribbon cable, which will give the iPad the input data. What can happen is these buttons can lose some of their elasticity over time, essentially becoming worn out. They could become offset with where the button is trying to connect to the ribbon cable. In this case, it may require either repositioning or replacing. For sake of example, I want to go ahead and show you how to replace this flexible ribbon cable. Returning to our black bracket, undo the side panel screws. Next, undo the shielding plate If possible, use plastic tools so that you don't introduce static electricity to the system, which could damage the product. At the top of the iPad, there's another shielding plate. Unscrew that. Nearby you'll see a silver square. This is the rear-facing camera. Gently pry it up so that you can gain access to the final screw on the bracket. I want to emphasize you don't need to completely remove this or pull it out of the casing. Carefully separate the bracket from the casing before prying out the ribbon cable. I used a little heat to help facilitate the removal process. With the button component off, remove the microphone. Line up the new flexible ribbon cable on the posts of the black bracket. Position the microphone and reassemble. When screwing in the black bracket, verify that the buttons work and are making contact with the ribbon cable. Alright, let's put it all back together and test it out. Oh my gosh. There's no way. Got it all back together. You can tell here. Volume button works. Very satisfied. Hey, thanks for watching.